I posted a video last week on the 10 or so solo games that I brought with me on the road in order to get some gaming in while I traveled. And one comment in particular, now there were a few about Catharsis on that video, but one comment in particular has stuck with me ever since posting that video. The comment read something along the lines of, "Catharsis sagas? What do you mean? I only know about the big box." And I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I mean, this massive behemoth of a game is the same as this medium size, kind of a little bit more of a bite-sized cooperative approach, is the same as these two solo adventures that we have set off to the side. And that giant big box has been around for a few years, which means more people know about it than these other two options. The, I believe, second Kickstarter campaign and Divine Wrath, the thing that just showed up recently, being the third. Now, Catharsis is a game that I have been a fan of for a long, long time, ever since one of my good friends, Wes Todd, introduced it to me as a indie gem, as a sweet little romantic call-out to those cooperative adventure story-driven games that I adore. This is a dice-rolling, kind of Yahtzee-style game system with an insane amount of variability when it comes to the number of characters you can play, the way they each function, the abilities they each have, the way they combine or work solo, depending on how many people you're playing with, scales from 1 to 5, and the number of different bosses, challenges, events, and stories you can journey through. Now, for your, information, I am currently getting set up and getting ready to sit down and play through a series of solo gameplays and a series of two-player gameplays with my lovely wife, Shira. We've already put out some in the past, and some of those gameplay videos will be sponsored content. So when I talk about how much I love this game, either believe the past version of me well before we did any collaborative work with the Catharsis team, or take it with a grain of salt. That being said, I still want to address that comment, that idea of a small box version of this massive behemoth-sized game sitting next to me. I want to talk about the way that you can dive into and start playing through Catharsis, because I think it is an indie game that is worth you exploring and worth getting a little bit more attention, a little bit more hype as the community grows as more and more people dive into and explore how this mechanic system and how this mechanics engine runs. But I also want to make sure that people that know and love this game are also aware that there is a solo-compatible version. So, one big important note, this entire arsenal of a board game from Cyber Wizard Games comes fully compatible with itself. So you have something like 11 challenges, 11 bosses, and 12 core characters in here. You have about an equivalent number over here in this game. I think it's something around maybe 8 challenges and maybe another dozen or so characters that you can play. And then each of these little saga boxes is a standalone solo adventure, one hero, one boss, one narrative story that you're journeying through that incorporates back into the entire system really well. And it scales based on the number of players that you have. So the challenge that you're facing, the numbers, the stats, the damage that you're being done, all the math that's run behind the scenes is based entirely off of how many people you have actively playing the game. So if you're playing with a party of 5, you have more opportunities to collaborate, to work together, to share dice, to use your infinite abilities to, mess things up and hopefully not fail. But if you're playing solo, that challenge remains the same. And some characters are better at weeding their way through the solo puzzle than others. The game actually has in its rulebook, in the Divine Wrath rulebook here, a breakdown of how balanced and how equal a character will be if they're playing on a larger team, meaning they're more of a support character or they need that extra dice manipulation from other players around the table, or if, like these two games, they're balanced around being able to go up against any one or any number of these enemies in these stories completely entirely on their own. So depending on how you like playing games, whether you are a solo-only player or you play like I do oftentimes with one other person, a amazing partner or good friend, or you have a gaming group. you know, a regular Tuesday night that gets together and dives into some big epic story-driven games, especially if you like those campaign-based games, if you like RPGs, if you like D&D, if you like storytelling games that have depth that go, well, beyond what the conventional game system does. Catharsis is one that would be an excellent 3, 4, or 5-player singular night event with a story that you'll be able to talk about, share, in a world that you're going to want to explore as you continue diving into the lore and the world. I mean, just get a sense of some of these character names. That'll give you a good understanding of just how deep this might go. We have Madelum Bonum, the Fallen Paladin, Selaith, the Demon Hunter, Sezin Xylin, the last of his kind. We have Jaden, the Unfortunate Farmer, Fizzleboom, the Gnome, and Burr, the Ogre, the dynamic duo. We have Dermith, Raisin, the Transmuter, Aiden, Azael, the Tainted Bard. I mean, they all have extra little bits, extra little pieces of flavor text and story, and every single one of their roles cards just imbues them with accurate thematic characterizations, with powers that are unique to the cards that you're playing, and a story that goes right alongside that. All right, so let's set up the premise. Let's set up how each of these systems work and why, if you're going to be getting into Catharsis, there's a good argument for starting with any or all of the above. Let's start over here with the games that caught that viewer's attention, these little Saga boxes. The Saga boxes are designed to be self-contained one-player experiences. We have Ninan, the Soul Eater, who is a I guess, demonic-imbued character. He's going to be... Shira played this one, so I don't know the lore quite as well as I should, but he's going to be sucking, I think, souls or spending souls and absorbing them into himself and then utilizing them for extra powerful, extra big attacks. But there is a cost to that, right? The more souls you have, the more corruption you take, the more you're storing within your own physical form, harder it is for you to operate, the more damage you might take, the more you are prey to whatever befalls you in front of you. We also have the lovely, who's the enemy here? I should have written down their name. So this is your enemy, the Nocturne. This is going to be a corruption that's slowly spreading across the land, vines and twisted foliage and tentacles that are destroying, killing, and causing or raining havoc across this peaceful settlement. You're going to be showing up trying to attack, defeat, and overcome. This has a lot to do with careful planning and preparation, a lot to do with strategic timing and big, powerful moments. This other box we have here is the Sovereign box. This is Chapter 2, and this is going to have our lovely Kai Stormbringer, the Ethereal Swordsman. And if you know anything about the Brandon Sanderson world, you might have some similar references here. We have a sentient sword that is every now and then able to be drawn and able to be utilized to devastating power and abilities, but it takes strategic positioning. It takes your ability to actually build up, what are they called? When unsheathed counters are removed from Kai's roll card or he activates his flip ability, add this effect to the ability. So you're going to slowly be getting the power necessary to pull the sword out and rain havoc upon the Sovereign. The Sovereign here is going to be this lovely little cat woman who is slowly collecting, controlling, and let's say indoctrinating those around her. Ducking into the side chamber, you find an unexpected respite. Opulent decorations and furnishings imply that this room belonged to someone important. A compacted pile of bone, blood, and gore in this room confirms that. Your eyes are drawn away from the grisly memorial of a book. Staring at it, you feel a strange compulsion to open it. So we're starting off an adventure. We have one little narrative to follow. He has a lot to do with consistently being able to strategically use the dice that you have to build up those unsheathed counters to sequence into a more powerful moment. It's a little bit more of a ebb and a flow as you're playing. Divine Wrath I have a full unboxing of that I go through every single character and every single scenario, but I will give you a quick glimpse of all of the different role cards that we have here, so you know who you might want to jump into and who you might want to play. There is a vast difference between how these cards play. Like, for instance, we have a Tinkerer here. Her name is Emberhoof, the broom... Sorry, not the Tinkerer. This is the Tinkerer. we have Luthia Tinkerer and Emberhoof the Brewmaiden. Luthia Tinkerer is going to slowly be gaining gears and getting new abilities and new ways to customize and put together cards that give you access to tools that you might want to utilize to either support your companions or do some nice big heavy damage. The Brewmaiden is going to be sharing drinks around the table, passing cards that imbue people with a little bit of an alcoholic buzz and more powerful attacks. So you're giving people resources that could be the bane of their existence as they get more and more drunk, or could be their saving grace as they develop powers to do more damage or prevent damage coming their way. And then, of course, we have Flaz and Bog, which is a lovely little dog friend companion. We have all of our bosses, all of our scenarios here. So I'll flip through and show you some of the artwork. These are epic as well. Like this one here, which is called, Unfortunate Souls is the name of this card. It's a trap. I don't have the name of the character. It's this giant crab that lives at the bottom of this reef, and you're going to be trying to make a decision between collecting treasure on your way, which seems like the right approach, or getting down there with enough time to spare to actually defeat and overcome the boss. So do you get distracted with the journey and try to get all the gold gear and extra equipment you can find, or do you actually just make it down there to the bottom of the cavern and lop his silly little crab head off? We have bosses here in Divine Wrath that deal with gambling, that deal with time travel and manipulation. You never know exactly what's going to happen, so you're trying to predict and read into the future. It is a giant standalone expansion or standalone version of the big box game. If you're looking for a medium way, a mid-sized way to dive into this, this is an excellent place to start as well. I will say Divine Wrath gets a little bit more wild, a little bit crazier. Some of the abilities and powers that they have, while refined because the development of the game has continued on, they kind of use some of the standard ideas, the classic RPG roles in the original. And so this one, let's just say they're a little bit more complex. Some of them are straightforward, but a lot of them are a little bit more complex and require more dynamic and more strategic team play to get the most use out of them. Like I said, we'll be filming and showing off some examples of Divine Wrath here very, very soon. And then finally, we have the original big box. This behemoth of a game is already owned by Catharsis lovers around the world. It has been received extremely well and has done well enough that they have been bringing it back into these other smaller expansions. I have all the roll cards and all the boss decks out here. This is a great way, if you know you're going to be diving in, you like cooperative puzzles, and you don't necessarily want to play solo, like I would recommend starting with the sagas. If you want to play solo, why not get a taste of exactly what this game is offering before you dive into one of these two big boxes? The base game Catharsis is an excellent way to get set up, introduce players to the game, and it probably walks you through it a little bit more approachably than Divine Wrath does. Not that Divine Wrath is a terrible place to start. In fact, it's excellent if you're already an established gamer who understands dice manipulation, cooperative puzzles, and wants a real challenge on your hands. But this first starting set here, this Horseman of the Apocalypse, or whatever it is that it is called, I think it's on this other page, so I'll flip my rulebook over here and tell you the actual name. The Corrupted Horse Encounter is an excellent place to start. Straightforward, fight your way to the finish line, overcome any enemies, and lop the head off. But we have a whole collection of other bosses, other scenarios, and the core original story for Catharsis here in the original game. There are, I believe, 11 total scenarios and something like 12 total characters that you can play. And each one of these characters is going to be extremely unique as well. So we have Aiden the Tainted Bard. This is going to deal with setting up song cards, setting up music cards that get more powerful as time goes on, but once you stop singing the song, you've hit stage 4 of them and you use the most powerful ability, you forget the song immediately, which means your deck resets back to 0. We have Jaden, the Unfortunate Farmer. This Unfortunate Farmer is one of my favorite ones to play. He has spores. He's kind of immune to the spores, only theoretically, and he's slowly being corrupted, poisoned, I don't know, rotting from the inside out. He's still functioning. He's still alive, which means every time someone runs into him, whether it's a friend, foe, or just an acquaintance, they're going to get a little bit of his poison spread onto themselves. So as he gets more and more imbued with spores, he's going to be shedding them like lice. He's great to stand in front of the fighting line, take a big, brutal hit, but as soon as he does, the enemies are going to start suffering. Here's the thing. The more spores he has, the more risk he runs of maybe not being as immune as he thought he was and taking some substantial damage. We have here the Maldum Bonum, the Cursed Paladin. This paladin is great at protecting people or bleeding enemies dry. You kind of pick and choose which one you want to do. Do you want to sacrifice your ability to protect the party, like paladins should, by sinking into your corrupted, sentient armor's beliefs that you should just destroy and wreak havoc across the land? Or do you step in front and utilize your armor's abilities to protect everyone but yourself sitting around the gaming table? We have Salith, the Demon Hunter. This Demon Hunter is seeking out the demon that killed his master, except that demon actually possesses him. The more damage he takes, the more powerful he becomes, until finally the demon is summoned and he loses his own sense of self. You kind of want to be on the edge of death when you're playing him. If you like pressure luck, if you like taking big hits and then dealing big damage, trying to run to that finish line seconds before the enemy crosses it, he's going to be your playing style. We have Xylan, the Portal Monk. The Portal Monk is going to be setting up and popping portals across the board. Great for strategic, a little bit more careful play. Really, really solid cooperative experience. We have Lyra, the Devoted Spirit. This is a really strange deck, one that we absolutely have to feature here on the channel because it plays with two people playing the deck. You have a Spirit, and then you have Lyra. Here's what's cool about this. The Spirit is going to be imbuing, using the dice and the abilities that they have to give to their ally as many resources as possible for them to do more powerful, more non-ethereal, like actual in-this-world abilities and attacks. However, as they do those attacks, they're going to be putting stuff back into the Spirit realm. So it's a balancing act between both players. A lot of communication and cooperation is here because you're both running one single character. We have Umi, the Gifted Samurai. The samurai is going to be like a whirlwind of blades and blood, but she does a lot of small damage quickly. It's going to take a lot of planning and some help from other dice manipulation allies in order for her to position herself so she can do the most damage possible. We have here Dermot, the Transmuter. This Transmuter, what does he do? I wrote him down right over here. He's a mage who pays with his own flesh. Ah, I see. So he has a deck of cards. He has a lot of opportunities to cycle those cards or to become a master of one of those cards' abilities. So as you play dice, if you spend the most powerful ability on that card, you're going to be cycling it with a brand new ability, cutting off a hunk of your own flesh and watching as something else grows in its place. Is that going to be a defensive ability? Is that going to be fire magic? Is that going to be a claw you can use to rake against your ally's face and give them the ability to see in the dark? I don't know what you're going to have. Claws are weird, so why not make them defensive instead of aggressive? This game's strange. Either way, you're going to be regrowing parts of your body and choosing to utilize them, or you're going to be saving cards on the deck, playing them slow, but making them as powerful as possible. We have the Ethereal Shelf Chef General. She is going to be putting things in the oven. No, literally. She is going to be setting up and getting the goods and the bakery and everything established and ready to go. The question is when you take out weapons, abilities, and powers from the oven. Basically, you're going to be saving things for later, and then pulling them out and dealing lots and lots of either abilities or lots of effects or lots of damage based on that timing. Big timing, big slow play, big tactical playing character. This is one of my favorites. We have Burr and Fizzleboom, the dynamic duo. Burr and Fizzleboom are one of the more heartfelt companions here. We have an ogre who broke the back of a little, I think, like halfling type character, and he feels bad about it. It was an accident. It wasn't what he was trying to do. So he now carries that little halfling around. He's basically his legs, and they've got brains. So we've got brains from Fizzleboom, and we've got just brute strength and the ability to walk with Burr. They're going to be working together. Your cards flip back and forth, two different abilities on each side of them, and as you use them, you're going to be choosing what it flips to next, meaning you got to choose whether or not you're going to play it smart or play it aggressive, and when and how you make those choices. Two active roles, two active characters, very interesting way to play. We have the Hydorian Fate Manipulator. This guy is going to be doing a lot of randomness and a lot of chance, I believe. He's going to be stacking and saving dice. I had him written down here. I don't see him immediately. He's going to be stacking and saving dice from turn to turn, trying to build up to that perfect sequence, that perfect effect of cards and abilities. But it takes him a long time to get positioned exactly right. So the longer you go, the better, but the more vulnerable you are to other people fighting you. We have Leme Balura, the Ancient druid. She is really, really good at dice manipulation, at card manipulation, at supporting all the characters around the table. Probably one of the more excellent support characters. A little bit more classic roles here in Catharsis main game. So if you're coming from a RPG, D&D group, you get a group of 2, 3, or 4 who want to fit into some of those more classic contemporary roles, right? The fighter, the druid, the mage, the sentient spirit working alongside their loyal pup and imbuing them with extra power. Maybe that's not as that one's maybe not as classic of a role. Or you want to fight some classic enemies like a corrupted horse, or let's just summon one of these real quick to give you a quick sense of flavor text. I'll close my eyes. I don't need to pick and choose. They're all freaking excellent. We have summoned the giant crab ogre type thing. What's he called? Verminologist. Oh, good. The Verminologist deck has event and trap cards that you just can't seem to get rid of, like a bug infestation. Great, it's a nightmare. The event cards offer beneficial effects, but their benefits are constantly in danger of disappearing. Trap cards, on the other hand, have debilitating effects that like to linger and can seriously hinder your party's chances of success. And the Verminologist itself can summon more and more of its brethren to destroy the party each turn. You must balance attacking it and keeping its swarms at bay. The vermin are not only more aggressive, but their life cycles are also accelerated. You watch with disgust as a bird eats several spiders with young on their backs, only to choke to death as its young grow to full size while at its throat. Flies immediately land on the bird as it breathes its last, and within seconds you see maggots crawling out of its skin. You have to find the source of this magic soon, lest all life suffer similar fates. I don't know. There's just a crazy story. There's an insane amount of characters and combinations to play, and for that one person that commented that said you had no idea there was a Catharsis Saga small box solo adventure puzzle to give you a taste of this game. Well, there is, and I think it's actually a really smart choice on behalf of the publishers. I mean, this first thing that they made, this is the definition of first-time, brand-new designers, publishers, creators. They just have something remarkable, beautiful, insane that they want to bring into the world, and they do it. They do it to the nth degree, right? They have custom dice, they have beautiful artwork, they've funded and invested everything in making something kind of silly that would never sell in a retail store exist. Then you've got the next stage of development, right? A little bit more deep when it comes to the lore and story for those hardcore fans, those fans that are coming from that original core box, but a little bit more bite-sized. I could see this on the shelf at a local gaming store. I could see this being demoed, played, and carried with you around a convention, whereas this is one of those things that you buy at the very end of the convention because you don't want to carry it with you even if you desperately want to own it, or you make a trek right back to your car immediately after. And then these two little small box examples, I really hope they come out with more of these sagas because these are just fantastic ways to not only play the game, but also great little storage containers and great little scenarios set up perfectly for you to do what I did just this last week. Pop them in a bag, bring them with you on the road, and play through a little narrative adventure, learning the characters deeper, learning the story a little bit better, and seeing if you can finally overcome it or hit one of the other alternative endings, because every single one of these stories has various variable ways that they can conclude. And one of the things that maybe not be my preferred way to play, I like diving into new characters every time I play. I'm just that type of chaos. But Shira, she actually prefers playing the same character over and over and over again. The reason being is because every character comes with their own variable drafted set or randomized set of abilities. So just because you're playing this same box for the 4th, 5th, or 6th time, you could always grab and sub out the enemy if you've gotten tired of the narrative story you're going through or you've already overcome and accomplished that challenge. But the character you're playing and the puzzle that you've set up with them, that's going to be different every time you draw your 6 cards out of a deck of, let me just clarify this, and they're not all going to be exactly the same, of course, but you're going to be drawing 6 cards out of a deck of what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 different cards. I don't even know the math on that. Someone that's good at numbers, please tell me. If you have a game that has 6, you're drawing 6 cards each time out of 8 different or 18 different possible card combinations where all of them could be different. How many options is that to play? And then on top of that, if you have 3 games with a total of like 24 bosses, 24 characters. Each character has, let's round it up to that 18 number, 18 cards that you're drawing 6 out of in order to create a variable playing experience. How many combinations is that? I mean, I think we're on the edge of not being able to calculate just how infinitely variable Catharsis is and can be. So, this whole video was just a chance to answer that question. I've been reading through the rulebook, so has Shira. We're extremely excited to get this set up, get this back to the table as a cooperative game like we originally discovered it. I've got some characters that I desperately want to play. I haven't decided if I want Shira to be the active player or to be the spirit. She is better at this game than I am, so we'll read it accordingly. And I always just kind of want to play the corrupted farmer because I like his name so much, and he's fun, and I know how he operates at this point. Yeah. I normally lose, so there's that. All right, long video just to answer a single comment or a single question, but it was bugging me all week. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? You know about this? You don't know about that? Man, this is cool. And the whole thing. It's neat. All right. Whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Play some games. Do the game thing. Just go experience the whole. You should go do it. You should do that. It's a good thing to do. It's fun. Unless you don't have time, or you gotta work, or you've got a date to go on. I don't know. There's other good things to do too. Games aren't the only good thing to do, but they're pretty substantially good. I'd say positive impact on my life. Not quite as good as Adderall, but close. We'll see you next time. Bye.